It's Friday, bitches. And it's a good Friday because the Leafs finally won a freaking game. And it was a glorious affair. I mentioned last game that after that Buffalo loss, which was pathetic, that I thought that previous game against Pittsburgh, the first of these home and home series, should have been a statement game from the Leafs, and instead it was anything but. There was a lot of media chatter and questioning about the Leafs in between the two Pittsburgh games, and they answered it all. Everything that was missing in that first game in Pittsburgh was blatantly back in the mix in the game last night in Toronto. Their compete level, their urgency, their feet were moving all night. They never stood still and puck watched. That in the corners, they were battling for pucks. They were winning the battles. It was frantic. It was fierce. Their passing was crisp and on the tape. There was no diddling around with it and going, oh, should I give it to you? Should I give it to you? Oh, too late, turnover. It was like, okay, here's a decision. I just made it, and bang, the pass is beautiful. Smart decisions with the puck too. Like, instead of going for a high risk maneuver that could have possibly backfired and sprung the other team on a 2-on-0 or a breakaway or a 2-on-1, an odd man rush, whatever, they made the simple play, kept the puck down low, and started their possession all over again, and generated many chances from that. So everything about the game was just so the opposite of how they had been rolling along on the bad side the past few games before that. So Fred also looked a lot more sure of himself in the net, and it showed because he pitched himself a shutout, which is the first Leaf shutout in, I would guess, quite some time. The way they've been going lately. So they ended up winning 4-0, and the goals were nice goals too. The first one was Leafs were throwing it around the zone. Puck came to Muzzin on the left point. He just hammered, straight up blasted a shot. Slap shot from the point past the goalie. And then I'm kind of forgetting who scored the other goals now. I know Kapanen got one, a beautiful breakaway feed from Kerfoot that sprung Cappy on a breakaway, and he put one blocker side just inside the bar. And I forgot to check my summary beforehand, but there was two other Leaf goals, and all the goals were great too. Hyman was one of them. It was the puck came down low on some rebounds and stuff, and he jammed it in, and then I forget who had the other one. There was one more goal, but either way, this team was a completely different team than the night before, or the 2 nights before in Pittsburgh. It's almost unbelievable how different they were. So they obviously gut checked themselves and decided to do something about it, and that's doubly impressive, seeing as Pittsburgh's one of the better teams in the East right now, despite their injuries and stuff. They're kind of, Leafs and the Penguins are in the same kind of situation. They're these teams that are still managing to find themselves in the playoff hunt despite having lots of injuries and stuff, especially to some key players. So yeah, it was good to see the Leafs rebound and beat a good team like that. The only other note was that in terms of the lineup, Liljegren was out on defense and Marincin was in, and I thought he played one of his best games of the year. Everybody seemed to get the message last night. And at forward, the Leafs actually made a deal yesterday, maybe. They sent one of their prospects that they showcased in the game against Buffalo or whatever it was, Mason Marchment, who I was sad to see go because he's a bigger body. He's more of a power forward type player. And I feel as though the Leafs, as you know, if you watch my videos, need more of that kind of jam. But they sent him to Florida for a guy named Dennis Malgin, a Swiss player, I think, who actually played with Austin Matthews in Switzerland back before he became a Leaf. So they were familiar with each other, and he played last night. And although he didn't I don't think he officially got on the score sheet, but he was involved in at least one of the goals and providing a screen and being involved in the play. So he looked pretty good from what I saw last night. And yeah, I think that was it for lineup notes. And then the only other thing is that there was another fight, and it was Kapanen of all people, his second NHL fight. somebody Hornquist hit one of the Leaf players, Sandine, I think, and that Kapanen didn't think was a nice hit, so he went and stood up to Hornquist, and we all know Hornquist. He's one of these guys who, cheap shots people and hits them, in awkward positions, but then never answers the bell. Like, he's one of these dirty kind of guys. And he jumped on Freddie last night, and claimed he was pushed into him. And there's all sorts of people around him, but they're doing nothing. Nobody even touched him. And you could see him just, on top of the goalie. It's shit like that the refs have to go, you know what? We saw what you did. Like, if that's part of your game and that's how you're effective, well, that's too bad, because you're being a jackass. And that's like jumping on a goalie. I thought, in terms of all the different rules in the game of hockey, I think would not be allowed. But somehow, certain players like this are allowed to get away with shit like this for their whole careers, right? And so anyway, he wouldn't answer the bell against Kapanen, and so McCann, I'm kind of familiar with his name or whatever, he stepped in for Hornquist, and then the two had a brief tussle, and so it was nice to see somebody throwing knuckles for the Leafs. It's a very positive thing to see. So overall, a fantastic game for the Leafs. Just Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, those two Pittsburgh games. So I hope that the lesson is not lost on them, that if you show up and just work, you not rely on just, we're so skilled, we'll get by on that. I hope they realize that, okay, that doesn't work. Our skill will shine through if we bust our balls and put in the effort. So I hope that is the lesson they learned last night, because if they did learn it and it does sink in, that's just going to make things so much easier for them over the stretch, and hopefully be enough to get them enough wins and to seal the playoff spot. So nice game, nice way to start to roll into the end of the week and the start of the weekend, and we'll see what the weekend brings. Have a great day.